If you can think of a story, one of these types of stories, and share it with the audience.
So we did have a story that started last year with, it's a new industry, telecommunications infrastructure. And we went through probably 3 times where we almost won, then almost lost. And our biggest, I think, win was avoiding an RFP and leveraged to help them understand that it would be worth trying going direct with us first before they go to an RFP. So that worked, leveraging the alliance with. Then we got together as a team to overcome some of the limitations because they needed to have no offshore support. So in the end, we managed to land it and sign it last Thursday, and that was teamwork for a new industry.
Wow, congratulations. Can we give them a round of applause? Can I ask you to stay up with me? So, we're going to do an exercise together, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
He didn't know he was volunteering for this. So, everybody just realize that this is a scary thing to do and imperfect. What do they say? Creativity is inherently messy. We're going to get a little bit messy together today. Okay. So, we're going to ask a series of questions about this story. The first one was it a good story? I think it was. Do you agree? It was a good story? Come on, we can do louder than that. It was a good story, right? It was. It was a great story. Do you feel like he told it concisely? I do. I think he told it very concisely. Did he speak about the customer's emotions? Did he? No?
No.
No. One of the things that stops us from talking about the customer's emotions, what did you say the customer was again? This was a company, isn't it? Do companies have emotions? No. People have emotions. Who was the person you were selling to primarily?
So it's the VP of Innovation.
And the VP of Innovation, again, no emotions. What was the name of the person that was the VP of Innovation?
His name was, and actually he did show emotion once he understood what the company as a whole, I believe, as opposed to just ecosystem product, could do as a partner. And I think he saw that as a feather in his cap, that if this is successful, it would be a personal gain for him.
Perfect. So look good. I'm just going to ask you to lift that microphone up just a touch as we're going through. Can everyone hear? You're okay? Okay, good. So great. So he saw it as a feather in his cap.
Right.
But he was going with multiple vendors, right? Why do you think he was doing that?
That's part of the process in the company that they have to explore more than one option.
Absolutely. But do you think it was a big decision for?
Right.
There's some horrible statistics about transformations and how much they go wrong, isn't there? Do you think that if this had have gone wrong, it would have felt pretty bad?
Sure.
If he made the wrong decision, do you think maybe people would go, you know what, I don't think you're cut up for this role. Maybe there's a demotion in your future, or maybe a sideways shift where you can stop making some pretty bad decisions. Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you think he had to trust you a lot?
Absolutely.
How long is this implementation going to take?
It's going to take about 6-7 months.
6-7 months. So he's going to have to live with you and your team for 6-7 months, and he has to trust the fact you're going to be there on the finish line and hold his hand the entire process.
Right.
Okay. Do you think he's worried that if it goes wrong, he's going to have to spend some late nights away from his kids and family trying to fix things? Or maybe he has to go in and hustle with you to try and get things by the finish line on budget or help you fix things if it's necessary. Do you think he's worried about that?
I don't think so, because he saw the flexibility that the leadership showed to overcome obstacles during the sales cycle, and that gave him the trust and gave them the, the decision that whatever comes up, we will handle for him. So he's trusting us to do the right thing.
Got it. So he felt emboldened by the fact that your team was willing to step slowly and hold his hand through that due diligence process.
Right.
That you didn't try and push him into a decision too fast.
Right.
And because of that, he has to believe, but he's still going through a leap of faith, because let's be honest, when you're talking to the sales team, sometimes the moment the contract is signed, all of a sudden it's like, hey, here's the operations team. I know you've got no relationship with them, but good luck. Right? So still, he had to trust that. So he's going through a lot of emotions. Now, when you said it's not currently done, right? It's just, the agreement's just been signed.
Correct.
Okay, so let's imagine for a second moving forward. If this all goes well, is that a good thing for
It's a feather in his cap.
Lots of eyes on him then. When you say a feather on his cap, what does that mean really?
That means that he may get a promotion, he may get a bigger role, which means we will double, triple our relationship with that company.
Brilliant. So it's great for your organization, great for though, right? What did we hear? Like, we just heard a presentation about incentives. And how great is that for you guys, that you get to make more money? So does promotions, credibility, money. This is what people make decisions for. They want to know they're not going to get fired, and they want to know they're going to get promoted, and also that their husband and wife's not going to kick them out of the house because they made the wrong decision, and now they've got to work really hard. There are people making these decisions, not companies. Okay, so we talked about how the customer is better off now. We're not there yet. So how are they already starting to notice the difference that you're making? When was this contract signed?
This was signed on last Thursday.
Last Thursday. Is he already starting to feel relieved? Like, have you had some cadence calls that are making him feel comfortable? Is he starting to realize that he made the right decision?
I believe so.
Okay, brilliant. What's the moral of the story, by the way? Did we hear a moral? No? So the moral of the story, did you think there was a moral to that story?
I think the moral of the story for me was be open in the beginning, invest at the very front end, like front-end planning with a client, and engage your team, engage leadership to kind of bring out the best of the company, not just the product. And that's what creates the trust, because the client feels that there is a whole, if you like, system is there to support him.
Brilliant, brilliant. Here's what I got from it. It's more important for us to be a trusted advisor than to push you into a decision quickly. We're going to hold your hand through the entire process because we want you to be inspired about your entire organization's transformation, not just getting something done quickly. We're in it as a partner. We're your partner for life. As you grow, we grow, and we want to see you succeed. And because of that, we're very comfortable having more calls with you, being accountable, bringing in our core team members and supporting you every step of the way. Because we know the risk you're taking, and we want to make sure that that risk is controlled and feels totally safe to you. Now, if it's okay with you, I'm going to tell the story back to you. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. Now, before I do that, I'm going to explain that he did a wonderful job. Again, can we give him a round of applause? Now, I will tell you that he did a wonderful job because nobody does this stuff. No one talks about the individual. I spoke at an event for a multi-billion-dollar organization, and before they asked me to actually tell one of their organizational stories from stage, like I worked for them, to convince their over 1,000 new salespeople that if I can do it, and I didn't even know what half the acronyms meant, they could do it too. To come across like I had 30 years of experience. And so for that, I interviewed 7 people in the organization. And literally, if interrogation would be a low word for this. This was like a high-heated interrogation. Big lights on, asking them 1,000 questions. And at the end, I then told them the story back in about 45 seconds. They're like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? And the answer is the exact process I'm about to teach you. But more than that, I said, well, I'm glad you like the story, but here's the thing I don't understand. The thing I don't understand is that you said that you've been trying to get this organization into the cloud for years. Yet all of a sudden, you get this phone call. Funnily enough, the guy's name was also. You get this phone call from, and he's like, I've decided we're moving to the cloud. Why? I mean, it had this, if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality. This government organization that he worked with did not want to change anything. Then all of a sudden, hey, we just want to change to the cloud. Turns out, they didn't know the answer. They had to go find out. Turns out, working for this government organization that employed thousands of staff, the server crashed just before Christmas. They couldn't run payroll. Thousands of staff angry at because they didn't get paid before the busiest spending season of the year. He had to get all of his staff in over Christmas, upset families, to make sure everyone got paid before New Year's. He was the guy that ruined Christmas. Do you think he ever wanted to be responsible for that again? Funnily enough, after the implementation, he got promoted because of how well he handled it. But how many of those people on that team would have been terrified of losing their jobs? Okay, so let's talk about your day. So when we first met, he had a problem. We would elucidate a little bit about what that problem was. Now, had a rule that they had to experience multiple vendors to get an understanding of pricing, and his usual experience, and I'm going to embellish a little bit, you can fill in the details later. His usual experience of this vendor process is getting overwhelmed by rep after rep after rep, having phone calls with solution specialists that he didn't understand half of what they said. But what he realized, or what he recognized inside our organization, was the fact that we seemed to dot our I's and cross our T's, and knew the horrible statistic, the graveyard of implementations that go wrong, that cost fortunes, that constantly blow out on timetables. And he realized that the one thing that he wanted to work with, or he decided that he needed to work with, was an organization that had the willingness to hold his hand the entire way. Not only that, he knew that this implementation was just the start of his career trajectory. And he knew that if he could partner with an organization that had a vision, an ability for him to do a total organizational transformation, that he personally would be able to ride that wave of success all the way through his hopefully very successful career. Now, as he went through all these interviews with other supply partners, he started to realize the depth. He started to realize the organizations that we were requiring and our vision for not just focusing on single point solutions, but being the true trusted partner for organizations for all of the requirements that they have as they go through a total organizational transformation. That's why he decided to work with us. And while he was up and back with a lot of other organizations, which, by the way, if I'm talking to a customer, I would say this: you are totally welcome to do. As a matter of fact, we challenge you to do that. But I always suggest you ask those questions. Will you be holding my hand? Do you have the depth of organization? And if that's beyond your purview, because we're trying to get past that decision maker, right? Then make your leadership part of this bigger decision. Because if we're focusing on single point solutions, we're not fixing the whole problem, and we're also not helping your organization get the economies of scale and the pricing that we know you deserve. So he made the decision to trust us. And while we're just at the beginning stages, he's already starting to see that not only did he get access to that team in the sales process, because that's a great time to convince people you're going to be on board, he's seeing that we're holding his hand already. We're now getting together, we're huddling, we're scrumming together to make sure that he gets the outcome that he deserves. So while I totally understand you want to go, this is the moral, I totally understand you want to go through your due diligence process, just know that us as an organization, we consider this the first step, not a single implementation. We'll be with you the entire way through. Thank you so much. Can we give him another round of applause? Thank you.